Time now for the Nick Hart Show, our weekly chat with the head coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. It's brought to you by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters, including Absolute Custom Machine LLC, ADG Architecture and Design Group Limited, Angermeyer Electric, A&T Concrete Supply, Brian Stevens Homes, Carriage Inn, Chips, SellMyTees.com, by Cordray Insurance Agency, LLC, Shelter Insurance, by Davis Brothers, Daylight Land Management, LLC, Daywig Meats of Hobstadt, Dilbeck Properties, Diversified Instruments, Duke Energy, Emerson Cattle Company, ERA First Advantage Realty, Rodney Langford, by Fast Break Convenience Stores, by Flanders, by Fort Branch Car Wash, Foster Construction, Bryman Land Service LLC, by Hobstadt Summerfest, by Heritage Federal Credit Union, Heritage Petroleum, Hillside Gardens Landscaping and Garden Center, HMC Gears, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Nathan Belote, by Jarbo Tax Service, JMCO Technologies, Johnson Commercial Mowing Incorporated, K&K Excavating Incorporated, Casey Fuquay, State Farm Agent, Kathy Solman Photography, Key Construction Company Incorporated, Kiesel Wagner Survey LLC, by Lively Machine Company, Lowry Ag, by Mytech Systems, Morton Solar LLC, by National Vet Help, by Ohio Valley Grain Inspection Incorporated, also by Parker Excavating, Perfect Climate Heating, Air and Plumbing, by Pole Concrete Construction, Prodigy Mold and Tool Incorporated, by Pro Rehab of Hobstadt, Prudential Advisors, The Barthel Agency, Rawhide Golf Supplies, Riano Family Fitness, Sandy's Pizza and Mini Storage, Shearer Monument, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, Singleton's Country Kennel, Stodgel Funeral Home, Team Black Law, PC, by Tai Chow, The Brass Ring and Pizza Kitchen, The Image Inks Company, Titan Construction Partners, TYFL, the Titan Youth Football League, by Varnado Construction, Vomac Truck Sales and Service Incorporated, We Simply Clean, by Whitledge Tree Service, and Young's Auto Body. The Nick Hart Show, a special production of the Wabash Valley College Radio, TV, and Digital Media Department.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Nick Hart Show. I'm Riley Angel here with you. Week one, hopefully, of many this season. Coach, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. Coach, I'm going to jump right into it here. I'm sure you're tired of answering this question, but a lot of senior leadership left last season. You graduated a big percentage of the offense. What should this Titans fan base expect personnel-wise from the offense, and how do you expect them to do in week one of this year?
Well, offensively, I think statistically, we lost a lot, but, we returned, four guys that started games for us last year on the offensive line. And I always think that's a great place to start. I think it's maybe other than quarterback, offensive line is the toughest place to kind of get varsity ready. So bringing those guys back will certainly help us early in the year. And, we returned a lot of guys that ended up playing a lot by the end of last year. So, just breaking those guys in, Zach Foster's going to be at quarterback, and he's got Friday Night Lights experience. He's a 2-year starter, just not at quarterback. So just kind of, easing him into it and getting him ready to go. And again, having that veteran offensive line, I think will certainly help as well.
And with all these new players in the offense, who do you expect to produce, and what are some surprises that you think Titans fans should look forward to?
Well, I talked about Zach. I think Zach's got a lot of talent, and I think as you talk about surprises, I think Zach, has progressed through the summer, more quickly than I thought he would, with where he's at as far as understanding the offense and what defenses are doing to him and the reads that he needs to make. But I think he's missed that natural progression of I threw a pick in a freshman game. Why did I? Or I missed this throw in a JV game. Why? He gets to the sideline. We can talk about why. So I didn't know where that progression would go as we went through the summer. But he's done a great job. I think as far as where my expectations were on that piece, he's ahead of schedule. Again, the veteran offensive line, I think our backs are running the ball well. I think those guys have been a good surprise this summer. And then I think our receiving core is really developed. We have 3 guys back that played. Seth Parsons was a full-time guy in the slot for us last year, and then Maddox Potts and Grant Stinson. We're both outside receivers for us. At certain times, they were kind of in a platoon situation last year. I think those 2 guys outside have really, developed and taken their game to another level, which really helps us offensively to be able to stretch the field and get those guys open. So, I think there's a lot of pieces there. We just got to put it together.
And you mentioned this summer, there was a lot of 7-on-7 play from you guys, obviously the scrimmage last Friday. Who exactly has stepped up into a leadership role over the summer? Because we know at the high school level, player leadership is a huge thing.
Yeah, I think our seniors to this point have done a really good job. I think that was, we had this isn't a knock on our current seniors. We had such a great senior leadership group last year. That when you lose a group like that, you're kind of looking for, all right, who can the guys be, that can step up and continue that for us. I think, all of our seniors have done a good job at that. I think, now is when it gets important. You go into a game week and you're not just kind of out there practicing plays and running plays and scrimmaging against each other. You have to come out and prepare for a Friday night opponent. So, our guys have really stepped up, I think, in that regard. And we might not have the most vocal leaders ever, but I think what our senior group has done is through the weight room and the practice field, they've set the tone at the level that they've prepared at and practiced at and lifted at. They've set the tone for the football team.
And going into this year, without really seeing the team play a full game yet, what are your expectations to where this team can get to by the end?
I don't know. I think the expectation of our program is always to play deep into the playoffs and in the tournament. And sometimes you can be really good and that not happen. It depends on who you play at what point of the tournament. But that's always the goal and the expectation about where we can be. I don't know. And I think, after these first few weeks, we'll have a little bit better idea, because we have some great opponents here in the middle part of our schedule, and we'll find a lot out. But I think you could learn a lot through the summer and the scrimmages and stuff. But it's always a little different when the lights come on and the scoreboard's actually on where you're keeping score. So I'm excited about where this group can go, but where that is, we don't know, and it's so far away. You just have to keep improving and getting better as you go through.
Coming up next on the Nick Hart Show, we will talk about a hefty out-of-conference schedule and the success this program has had the past 10 years. Stay tuned.
The Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash is brought to you by Absolute Custom Machine LLC, ADG Architecture and Design Group Limited, Hangermeyer Electric, A&T Concrete Supply, Brian Stevens Homes, Carriage Inn, Chips, SellMyTees.com, by Cordray Insurance Agency LLC Shelter Insurance, by Davis Brothers, Daylight Land Management LLC, Daywig Meats of Hobstadt, Dillbeck Properties, Diversified Instruments, Duke Energy, Emerson Cattle Company, ERA First Advantage Realty, Rodney Langford, by Fast Break Convenience Stores, by Flanders, by Fort Branch Car Wash, Foster Construction, Bryman Land Service LLC, by Hobstadt Summerfest, and by Wabash Valley College.
Talk to me a little bit about that hefty out-of-conference schedule that you guys play. What's the thought process behind scheduling all these super tough games early on in the year?
Yeah, it's just we were able to several years ago, we didn't have a lot of wiggle room in our non-conference because of the way the conference schedule was set up. Now we have a little bit more flexibility. And I felt like there was just years in the past where the first time we didn't get put into a lot of tough situations in the regular season. And we played some good teams in our conference. But we didn't have that kind of week in, week out, where our guys had to play 4 quarters and, you might have got down and you had to fight through some adversity. And I felt like sometimes early in my time here, the first time that happened was at a crucial point in a playoff game. I just don't believe that that's the first time that can happen. So, in Indiana, we want to win every game, and I don't want to sound like we don't, but in Indiana, your record really doesn't matter. There's no playoff seeding. There's no anything else. So, why not go play, the best that you can and challenge yourself. When we signed this deal with Danville, they went to state in 2020 and we went in 2021, and we signed it right before the 2022 season. So we were both, the last two to play for the South in the 3A state championship. They've got a great program. But I think you find out a lot about your football team. You find out, who can play and, what adjustments you need to make, and you're going up against some great coaches. And so, you can find some fault in your scheme and what you got to get better at. I just think, it makes us better, to go through this stretch and play these programs that have experienced great success. It makes our guys, learn how to prepare each week to get ready for Friday night. There's so many positives in it that, I believe it's the best way to go.
And we all know about the gauntlet of a sectional you guys got put into with the realignment this summer. How do you feel about the new sectional, and what are your expectations going into this season on what that sectional might look like come the end?
My thoughts on it are it is what it is. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, I guess, other scenarios or whatever. I mean, that doesn't help, and that's a waste of time. So, there's a lot of great programs in there, and so my thought on the sectional is, we better get a lot better every single week. So whenever that time rolls around and week 10, the tournament starts, that we're playing the best that we possibly can, because with the programs in that sectional and the success that all the programs have had, you better be really good to win that sectional. So that's the focus. We can't. There's nothing we can do about it right now, other than we got to have a great day at practice and get better and continue to improve every single week. Because whoever wins that is going to be really good. So you just got to try and put yourself in the best position you can at the end of the season to roll into the tournament playing your best football.
And under you, this program has had a lot of success the past 12 years, now going into your 13th year. And a lot of that can be attributed to the health of the youth programs and the lower levels of this program. How important are the lower levels to making sure the varsity squad, when they get there, is as good as it has been the last decade?
Well, it's imperative. I think, especially in a more of a rural setting, not in a city setting. I think it can be. I think you can maybe get away with it a little bit more in more of a city setting because of some of the transient nature of that. But in a rural setting, you've got to have a great feeder program, and we do. And I think especially the way we want to play, right? Like we want to two platoon as much as we can, play guys on one side of the ball. So to do that at the 3A level, you got to have a lot of numbers, and I think that's what um, other things, but I think that's what our lower levels have done a great job of is bringing big numbers, to the high school program, so we can continue to try and play that way. But no, it was set up wonderfully whenever I got here, and it's continued. It's kind of changed hands as it's gone through, but I just met with those coaches a week or two ago, and um, I'm excited about, what they're doing down at the lower level. And it's a vital part, to a football program because it is. This isn't a shot at other sports, but it's because of how many guys have to be on the field and injuries and depth and everything. Football's the number one number sport, in high school sports. I think, the more numbers you have, that it doesn't mean you're going to be more successful, but you have a better chance at being successful. So, we want to keep those numbers up in our youth program and then carry that over to the high school program.
And the preseason polls came out earlier this week, and you mentioned that you don't pay a lot of mind to certain scenarios. But with you guys being ranked 4th in 3A, what does that do for the program, and how do you make sure that the kids don't get too high on themselves with that preseason ranking?
Well, we better not get too high, or you're going to be ranked a lot lower after this week, with the opponent we have. But no, I think it's great recognition for our program. That's all it really is. We've been ranked number 1 and lost in the first round of the playoffs, and we've been ranked low or not ranked and gone on big runs. So, I think those polls, while it's great recognition for your program, I think especially this time of year. I used to be on the coaches poll. I didn't spend time on the preseason poll going through who had what back. It was a lot more of, what have you done historically and kind of where you've been the past couple of years. So, it's a grain of salt thing. We don't get to start this Friday up 7 because of where we're ranked. So we'll talk about it a little bit and kind of deliver that message to our kids. But that's all it really is. I think it's great recognition for our program. I'd rather be ranked, than not ranked, because it means that we've had success here. But as far as where we're going this season, it doesn't mean anything.
Coming up next on the Nick Hart Show, a look into this season's Pocket Athletic Conference title race.
You're listening to The Nick Hart Show, brought to you by Heritage Federal Credit Union, Heritage Petroleum, Hillside Gardens Landscaping and Garden Center, HMC Gears, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Nathan Belote, by Jarbo Tax Service, JMCO Technologies, Johnson Commercial Mowing Incorporated, K&K Excavating Incorporated, Casey Fuquay, State Farm Agent, Kathy Solman Photography, Key Construction Company Incorporated, Kiesel Wagner Survey LLC, by Lively Machine Company, Lowry Ag, by Mytech Systems, Morton Solar LLC, by National Vet Help, by Ohio Valley Grain Inspection Incorporated, Parker Excavating, and by Perfect Climate Heating, Air, and Plumbing.
You guys have won the Pocket Athletic Conference Big School Conference title the past since 2019. Is there any concern on defending your title?
Yeah, there always is. And I don't like to use the term defending because I think each year it's I don't get in the defending titles. I don't get into who beat who last year is a revenge thing, because I think each season is its own season and a new chapter, and guys graduate and new guys come in, and um, again, kind of like polls. I think that's great fan talk. I think it's great for the media. Um, we don't get to start any conference game up 7 because we've won several in a row here. So it's always it's not our most important goal. I think postseason advancement is, but it's always our first goal. To win the conference, and because it's the first championship you can win. It's always something you want to do. I'd rather win it than not win it. We postseason would, I would trade a conference for a sectional any day of the week, but it's the first one we can win. And I think our conference continues to get better at football. I think with the merger and everything, I think the level of play in our conference has gone up. And I think it will continue to as we move forward here. I think the PAC has been on a great run here in football, and will continue to do so.
And looking forward to this Friday against Danville, what is your expectation of this Danville team? And without giving too much away, what does the film look like?
Well, I can't give too much away because we don't know. I think you go into week 1, and especially with somebody you haven't played before, there's a lot of educated guessing going into the prep this week. I think the first couple weeks of the season is that way because everybody's trying to find themselves a little bit. I know we've changed some of the stuff we're doing from last year. I'm sure they have as well, because as a coach, I think you're trying to, with your personnel, put your team in the best chance you have to succeed. So when your personnel changes year to year, that's going to change, what you're doing offensively and defensively. So, we have a scrimmage film of them. Nobody shows a whole lot in the scrimmage. And we saw them play some last year. So you're just kind of like trying to piece that together to prepare your kids the best you can. But I think, one thing we talked about yesterday in our, in our meetings is we kind of put in game plan and stuff is, as coaches and players, we just got to be ready to adjust on the fly. There's probably going to be a formation we haven't seen, a concept we haven't seen, a blitz we haven't seen. So you just try and, you put in front of them an educated guess of what you're going to see. But I think right now the focus has to be on ourselves a little bit, just because there's not enough information, to really know what you're going to see. So I think, week 1 and week 2 play a little bit that way. You get to week 3 and 4, you have enough game film on people of what they're doing that you have a little bit better idea. But they're a great program. Coach Comer's done a wonderful job there. I think one thing they do that makes prep a little bit unique is they're in the spread, but they still run flex bone. So you're almost preparing for 2 different offenses going into 1 week. So that's a little bit of a unique situation with what they do. So it cuts down your prep time against both of them. Because if you're preparing somewhat equally for both of them, you're taking time. If you're working on the flex bone, you're taking time away from their spread, and vice versa. So I think that presents some challenges in getting your kids ready to play on Friday night. But no, just looking at their scrimmage West Lafayette, who's a 3A power. I thought Danville looked good. Again, kind of like us, they didn't play their starters a whole lot in the scrimmage. So there's not a lot of information there, but just kind of you piece it together the best you can. And I know Coach will have his guys ready to play. They're a good program. They've had a lot of success. They're a proud program. They're going to come out and compete. And I'd say kind of like us, they're a little bit young on the young side, but they've got a lot of depth, and it'll be a great challenge for us on Friday.
Coming up on the Coach Nick Hart Show, we'll talk about early season mistakes and the sting and motivation that comes from last year's semi-state loss.
You're dialed in to the Nick Hart Show, brought to you by Whole Concrete Construction, Prodigy Mold and Tool Incorporated, by Pro Rehab of Hopstad, Prudential Advisors, The Barthel Agency, Rawhide Golf Supplies, Riano Family Fitness, Sandy's Pizza and Mini Storage, Shearer Monument, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, Singleton's Country Kennel, Stodgel Funeral Home, Team Black Law PC, by Tai Chow, The Brass Ring and Pizza Kitchen, The Image Inks Company, Titan Construction Partners, TYFL, the Titan Youth Football League, by Varnado Construction, Vomac Truck Sales and Service Incorporated, We Simply Clean, by Whitledge Tree Service, and Young's Auto Body. Time to go back now to the Nick Hart Show.
And with it being week one, you can probably expect there to be a little bit of or some mistakes in that first game. How do you coach those mistakes, and how do you still harp on execution even after those mistakes?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of mistakes. The old coaching adage is, your biggest improvement should be from week one to week two. So there is a lot of mistakes in week one. Hopefully, we can limit those as much as we possibly can. We're going to coach positively. No kid wants to go out and drop a pass or fumble or miss a tackle or miss an assignment. So we kind of take the approach, it's on us. If they mess up, we didn't prepare them well enough. We'll coach them up positively, get them back in. And I think it's important to have a short-term memory. One thing we've, continue to work hard on is special teams. I think, the first couple of weeks of the season is probably when you see more of the, a block punt or a bad snap on an extra point or, a muff punt. You see a lot more of those mistakes early in the year because it's hard to get live special teams reps. We've put a lot of emphasis on that here in the first couple of weeks to hopefully put ourselves in a good situation on Friday.
And Coach, lastly, obviously a heartbreaker to end last season. And you said you don't want to focus too much on the past or the revenge aspect of the game, but does that ever creep into the back of your mind that you have a little extra motivation trying to get back to the place you were last year and even past it?
Yeah, I mean, not from like a revenge standpoint. That's where we always want to get. And I think, heck yeah, we would have loved to have won that game last year. But when you look back in the grand scheme of it, I think you get to that level where there's 4 teams left in the tournament. It's a really successful year. But our goal every year is going to be to play one game past that and play on Thanksgiving weekend. And you're not always going to achieve that goal. Heck, we've done it one time in 12 years. That's always the carrot at the end of the stick that you're chasing. It's a long process to get there. Whether we win or lose in week one is not going to determine if we can or we can't. It's going to be how we prepare and, how we improve through the course of the season. It's not in the back of our minds. I think it's on the front of your minds because that's the ultimate goal of where you want to get to. And if that's ever not my goal, I probably won't be doing this anymore. We want that challenge and know how difficult it is to get there. But we always want that challenge to try and get there. So yes and no. There's no revenge or make up for last year or anything because it's hard to get to that level. It's just the aspirations of this program are always going to be to try and get there.
This has been the Nick Hart Show. Thank you for listening. I'm Riley Angel, and I'll see you on Friday.
Thanks for listening to the Nick Hart Show, our weekly chat with the head coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. It's brought to you by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters, including Absolute Custom Machine LLC, ADG Architecture and Design Group Limited, Angermeyer Electric, A&T Concrete Supply, Brian Stevens Homes, Carriage Inn, Chips, SellMyTees.com, by Cordray Insurance Agency, LLC, Shelter Insurance, by Davis Brothers, Daylight Land Management, LLC, Daywig Meats of Hobstock, Dillbeck Properties, Diversified Instruments, Duke Energy, Emerson Cattle Company, ERA First Advantage Realty, Rodney Langford, by Fast Break Convenience Stores, by Flanders, by Fort Branch Car Wash, Foster Construction, Fryman Land Service, LLC, by Hobstadt Summerfest, by Heritage Federal Credit Union, Heritage Petroleum, Hillside Gardens Landscaping and Garden Center, HMC Gears, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Nathan Belote, by Jarbo Tax Service, JMCO Technologies, Johnson Commercial Mowing Incorporated, K&K Excavating Incorporated, Casey Fuquay, State Farm Agent, Kathy Solman Photography, Key Construction Company Incorporated, Kiesel Wagner Survey LLC, by Lively Machine Company, Lowry Ag, by Mytech Systems, Morton Solar LLC, by National Vet Health, by Ohio Valley Grain Inspection Incorporated, also by Parker Excavating, Perfect Climate Heating, Air and Plumbing, by Pole Concrete Construction, Prodigy Mold and Tool Incorporated, by Pro Rehab of Hobstadt, Prudential Advisors, The Barthel Agency, Rawhide Golf Supplies, Riano Family Fitness, Sandy's Pizza and Mini Storage, Shearer Monument, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, Singleton's Country Kennel, Stodgel Funeral Home, Team Black Law PC, by Tai Chow, The Brass Ring and Pizza Kitchen, The Image Inks Company, Titan Construction Partners, TYFL, the Titan Youth Football League, by Varnado Construction, Vomac Truck Sales and Service Incorporated, We Simply Clean, by Whitledge Tree Service, and Young's Auto Body. The Nick Hart Show, a special production of the Wabash Valley College Radio, TV, and Digital Media Department.